Allah, then where is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's ajeeb. Abdullah ibn Umar, after that incident, he used to talk about this in all of his gatherings. That this is what Islam is. When it came, it transformed people. That even people, they were sitting and standing in wilderness, but still they were so conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They didn't need laws and rules and regulations. They were just aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was enough. And even women and small girls, they had this feeling. But Umar he had the habit that at night time he used to roam the streets of Medina Munawwara. And one night he heard from a house that a mother, she was talking to her daughter. And she was listening and she heard that they were a milkmaid, they used to sell milk. And the mother is telling her own daughter that today the animals have not given enough milk, so why don't you put some water in the milk? And the girl, she's replying, well, Amirul Mu'mineen, the Khalifa, told us not to do that. And the mother said, well, the Khalifa isn't here. Khalifa isn't here. And that girl, the small girl, subhanAllah, her consciousness is so deep. She replies back that the Khalif is not here, but the Rabb of Khalif, the Rabb of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's not here. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching and I would never do this out. It was that kind of consciousness, my dear brothers and sisters, that they would never err. They would never make a mistake in their life. And every man, every woman, young or old, they had it implanted in them. This yaqeen and this consciousness was implanted in each and every one of them. Allahu Akbar Kabira. It is written in books that there was a Sahabi, and the Sahabi, before he accepted Islam, he had some kind of relationship with a woman in Makkah. So after he accepted Islam, after some time he came back. And that woman, she was still not a Muslim. She invited him, she's tried to seduce that person. And this is so relevant to a lot of our young ones, people who go to colleges and schools, and it's so easy to be tempted. We should remember these founding fathers of this deen, the Sahaba Karam, these amazing people. And so this woman tried to seduce him. Said, I'm not the same person anymore. I'm not the same person anymore, that I have changed. He completely refused. And she tried to touch him, and he said that if you touch me, then I will literally strike your head. Stay away from me. Because now I am a Muslim. Now I'm submitted and surrendered. Whatever happened in the past before I was a Muslim was a different story. But now I'm a different person. So even at night time, when they had open invitations, Sahaba Karam were in this state. They just wanted to stay away from any kind of disobedience towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if there were any kind of disobedience, they would really hold themselves to task. There's that story of that woman from Ghamidiyya that she erred and she made a mistake and she came in the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she said that I have committed this action and I want you to purify this. Purify it. I mean, she did something, she could have easily hidden it, not talked about it, but she came in front of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was so overwhelmed with grief. What have I done? She said that I want you to purify him. And Prophet turned his face away. She came from the other side. He turned his face away. Again, 3 times he did that. And then she said that I have committed this action and I am pregnant because of that. And Rasulullah asked, is this person in her senses? Because Prophet was so full of mercy, he always wanted to give some kind of excuse to forgive people. Is this person in her senses? She says, yes. And then she mentioned that I am in this state, that I'm carrying the baby. So she said that if that is, she said, go away and come back when you have given birth. Now imagine, you know what is going to happen to you eventually. But it bothers you so much what you have done against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's program that you just cannot take it. And so 9 months she carried the baby. And she came back, she had every opportunity. She could have recited it, she could have gone to another city, that would have been the end of it. But no, she came back. And now she was carrying the baby in her hands. It's like, purify me, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet said that you have your baby, so go and sustain and feed your baby for 2 years. And then again, giving her the opportunity to go. And she left. And then she came back after 2 years. Now, literally 2 years have passed. She came back and she said, now my baby, he's eating on his own. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then ordered for her to be purified. And when that action was being done, some Sahabi said some strong words. Prophet said, don't say these words. Her tawbah is so strong that it would have been enough for every person, every sinner of this world. That is the kind of tawbah that she has done. So people of consciousness, people of awareness, any time they make a mistake, they pull themselves to task. It causes them to be restless. Not like us. Not like us. Every day, how many crimes do we commit against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's authority? How many times do we do it? Our gazes are not in our control, our tongues are not in our control, our thoughts are not in our control. We are people who lie, who commit deceit, and who cheat others, and subhanAllah, we are just engrossed in a life of sin. Every person thinks, mashallah, I'm so righteous, I'm so pious, I'm the best wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's alive. That is the state that we're in. And this is in part because we actually don't really know who we really are. And so we're deluded in thinking that we're close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. So the only thing that can protect us from a life of sin, my dear brothers and sisters, is that we try to inculcate the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our lives. And really, if you think about it, that is the biggest difference between a common person like us and people who are the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the biggest difference. For us, we know what is right, we know what is wrong. That much ilm everybody has. But we're just unable to act upon it. We are not aware of it. We don't have the istihzar, the awareness, the consciousness of our information. And the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're exactly the opposite. They are always in a state of khashiyah. Always in a state of awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so weak. So weak. Nothing is in our control. We have lost self-control. We are the worst of cheaters. It's indeed everywhere we go, everywhere I travel. People are complaining left and right that, I started this business with a Muslim and mashallah, he had a very lengthy lahiyah and very long beard and thought he was so righteous. And before you know it, he just ran away with all the money. It's indeed everywhere. I can guarantee you there's not even a single community left which doesn't have a story like that. People are more willing to do business with non-Muslims than they are willing to do business with Muslims. It's indeed. Because we know what is right and wrong, yet we are not aware of it, and so it's very easy for us to sin. Ibn Rabah said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired on my heart. He said that people who commit these actions, these sins, this disobedience, they close all the doors and all the windows through which the makhluk looks at them. But they cannot close the door through which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at them. Out of all the people who are looking at them, do they consider me the least? Is that what they think of me? Because think about it, if we have a young person, 2-year-old sitting next to us, people will feel ashamed and embarrassed. Right? Most of our sins, we try to lock the door, we turn on the internet or the TV, and we try to make sure that we're all alone. Then it becomes very easy to sin, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us at that. We can't close that door. So all the beings that are looking at us, do you think the least of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's okay if Allah looks at me, as long as people don't find out. That is what we do. Every time we sin, we do exactly the same thing. Very clever, over clever people. Nobody's watching me at this time. Nobody's watching. Allah Ta'ala is looking at that. But we haven't trained ourselves, Allah Akbar Kabira, in understanding that presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And that is why it's very easy to get seduced by sin. Especially for the youth. You know, most of the sins that people get into are usually have to do with opposite gender. Right? It's ajeeb, right? We're just engrossed in the fitan of Jamal so much that we just can't control ourselves anymore. But people who are aware, it is said about one of the mashayikh that a woman came and she tried to seduce that shaykh. And so he wanted to teach her a lesson. So he said, okay, if you want to commit this guna, this sin, then let's go inside the masjid and do it. And this woman, she was shocked. Said, are you okay? What are you talking? What are you saying? That you want to commit this guna, this sin inside the masjid? Very beautiful answer. Said, the same Rabb who is watching us inside the masjid, the same Rabb is watching us outside the masjid as well. It's the same Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. He's everywhere. He's watching us wherever we are. So what difference does it make if you're unable to, if you don't sin in the masjid, we go outside and sinning, Allah Ta'ala is still watching us. And so this woman realized that she made tawbah. And so there are a lot of stories like that, how people were able to protect themselves. There's once this story, and it happened in the area of South Asia. During the time when there was independence, and India was separated out in 1947, there were a lot of riots, a lot of killings, a lot of violence. And so there's a story about this young woman that one time she was walking during the nighttime, and she lost her way and there was riot, and she was afraid for her life. So she just went inside the musalla, a small masjid, and she wanted to spend the night till the riots were gone. And she saw that there was a young muazzin, a young student of the deen, student of ilm, and he was standing there. He used to live there. And so she said that, is it okay if I spend the night here? First he resisted and hesitated, but she said, my life is in danger, so can you please allow me to stay? So it's okay, you can stay in one corner. So now the whole night long, this woman, she is sitting in one corner, and this muazzin, this young student of the deen, he's sitting in another corner, and he's just reading his Quran, he's reading his books. And this young woman saw a very strange thing. She belonged to a very wealthy family, and she saw this very strange thing. That this young person, every so often, he would take his hand and he would put it over the lamp that was lit, over the fire. And then he would take his hand away. So every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, he would put his hand and pull it away. So morning came, and now the man said to the girl, that the riots are gone, why don't you go home? Like, okay, I'll go home, but I want you to tell me, why is it that you were doing this throughout the night? And so that person, in the beginning, he didn't want to say, but then when she insisted, he answered, the reason is that I'm young and I'm unmarried. And so shaitan and nafs kept on coming and tempting me, that there's this young girl sitting right over there, and all opportunities are there, and you can do whatever you want to do. But every so often I reminded myself that I can commit a heinous act of adultery, but how will I face Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? How will I enter into Jahannam? That I will be burned into Jahannam. And so thinking about the fire of Jahannam, I would put my hand over that fire. And it would burn my hand, and I would remind myself that if you can't take this fire, how will you bear the fire of Jahannam? And so I reminded my nafs this all night long, so I can protect myself, protect my honor, and not think about guna and sin and itham. This girl was so impressed by it. She went home and she said to her own parents, she said, you wanted me to get married. I only want to get married to that muazzin. And so, alhamdulillah, because of that, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala blessed that young man with that person in a halal way. And that is what Allah wants us to do. He doesn't want us to not enjoy our life, but there are halal venues for all of these things. just wants us to stay away from haram. So this is what Mashaykh used to do. They used to try to stay away from a life of sin, reminding themselves that any step that they take towards guna is just taking themselves away from the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They used to do tawbah over that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned the story of Dhul Kifl, and this story has been mentioned in numerous books of hadith. Dhul Kifl, he was a young person from Bani Israel. And this person was wealthy, but he was also a womanizer. He used to take advantage of women whenever he could. So one time a young woman came to him and she was in so much need. And she asked, "Can you give me some money?" And he replied, "Well, I will give you this, but you have to commit these actions with me. You have to do gunah with me. You have to commit these sins with me." And she refused and went back. But she was in so much need that she came back after several days again. Again, he said the same thing. Third time, she was in so much need that she accepted. She said, "Okay, do whatever you have to do, but can you please give me some money, because I'm truly in need." So that night, when Dhul Kifl tried to get near that woman, she was shaking. She was shaking. And he asked, "Why are you shaking?" He said, "Because I have never committed a guna in my life. I never committed a sin in my life." And then she looked at him and said, "Do not break the seal of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not commit this action." And he was overcome with the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his presence. So he said, "Okay, even though you had accepted that you would do this, I give you this money, you can go and take it, and I will not commit this action." That night, Dhul Kifl died, he passed away. And in the morning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had written on his door that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted the tawbah of Dhul Kifl, and Allah ta'ala has forgiven each and every one of his sins. Allah. The Rawi of this hadith, he mentions that I heard this hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at least 25 times. 25 times. This is how Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to inculcate the consciousness of how to stay away from a life of sin. So if that Ravi has heard that hadith 25 times, the Prophet ﷺ must have said that hadith literally hundreds of times. So young people, young men, they would realize how important it is to kind of stay away from a life of sin. So my dear brothers, inshallah ta'ala, when we are alone, we must remember the story of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. When we are alone, we should always seek the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make ourselves aware of His presence. That is why we go and sit in the company of the Mashaykh and learn adhkar from them. That is why we learn from it this kind of awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is said that there was a shaykh, and his uncle used to come to him. And he said that you should do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he used to, what kind of dhikr should I do? How should I remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And he answered that every night before you go, he was 6-7 years old. Every night before you go to sleep, just say to yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. Only say this 7 times and 10 times and he said that all my youth, my young age, I used to, before going to sleep, remind myself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. And because of reminding myself of that presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah protected my adolescence, Allah protected my youth, and I was able to stay away from the life of sin. But dear brothers, inshallah, we should really, before we go to sleep, have that muhasabah, have that muraqabah, that we are in the presence of Allah. Allah Ta'ala is watching each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. And Allah Ta'ala is with us. And very soon, some people actually, some mashayikh, they actually do muraqabah and maut. They think about their own death and how they will have to go through the stages of death in front of Allah. So we should try to remind ourselves of that moment. Try to remind ourselves that we have to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar kabira. So my dear brothers, Allah Ta'ala orders each and every one of us, وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. He mentioned in the Quran, do not become amongst those people who are heedless. So much so that, when people talk about who should we follow, who should be our leaders, Allah mentions in the Quran, وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ. And do not follow those people whose hearts we have made ghafil, heedless of the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it means we should follow those people who are mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their life. This is what is asked from each and every one of us. This is what is asked from each and every one. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with this kind of awareness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us out of the slumber of sleep and heedlessness that is so prevalent in our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us aware that every sin, even how small it is just taking us away from the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards Jahannam. May Allah ta'ala protect each and every one of us. Ameen ya Rabbul Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. سبحان ربي الوهاب اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم يا مصرف القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على طاعتك. يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا أرحم الراحمين. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. Ya Allah Kareem, you are kind and merciful Lord. Allah, all praises belong to you, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, you have been so merciful to us, you have been so compassionate to us throughout our lives, Ya Allah Kareem. You have truly blessed us, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, but today we sit in your presence, in your house, in this bayt of yours, Ya Allah. Allah, we turn to you. Allah, we come to you in admission of all of our sins that we have committed in our life. Allah, truly we became forgetful. Allah, we spent our life in heedlessness, Ya Allah. But now we are tired, Ya Allah. We are tired of running away from you. So Allah, we turn back to you, we come to your house, and we hold your door and we seek your forgiveness, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, forgive each and every one of us, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, forgive each and every one of us. Every sin that we committed, Ya Allah, knowingly or unknowingly, Ya Allah. Every disobedience that we did, whether it was in daytime or nighttime. Allah, every crime that we did. Allah, when we were all alone thinking that nobody's watching us. Or Allah, every crime that we did out in public while we were laughing and merry-making, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, this was true ghafla, Ya Allah Kareem. We forgot you, Ya Allah. We forgot our purpose. We forgot why we are here in this dunya. And Allah, we committed all those heinous acts, Ya Allah. But Allah, we are truly sorry, Ya Allah Kareem. We are sorry for this kind of despicable existence, Ya Allah. We seek out your rahmah. We seek out your mercy, O Allah. Because Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, Allahumma innaka al-afuun kareem. That your Rabb is afuun kareem. That Allah, you love to forgive. Fa'fu anna ya ghafoor. Oh Allah, forgive each and every one of us, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, we make the intention today of doing tawbah to Rasul, Allah. Allah, we want to change our life, Ya Allah. Allah, we want to run away from this life of sins, Ya Allah. A life of ghafla. Allah, help us turn away from it. Allah, help us transform our lives, Ya Allah Kareem. Help us become better insan, better human beings, Ya Allah. Help us become better Muslims, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, we have been unable to surrender and submit ourselves to you, Ya Allah. Allah, we submit ourselves to our own nafs. We submit ourselves to our own desires. We do what we want when we want, Ya Allah. But we are tired of listening to our nafs. We are tired of listening to shaitan. Allah, shaitan has been playing with each and every one of us. Oh Allah, we ask that you protect us, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, protect us from the shar of our own nafus, Ya Allah. Allah, protect us from the shar of shaitan. Protect us from the whispers of shaitan. Protect us from those people who act like shaitan. Oh Allah, protect us from bad friends. Allah, protect us from bad company. Oh Allah, protect us from people who take us away from your grace, Ya Allah Kareem. And help us, Allah, attach ourselves to the Siddiqeen, Quduma Sadiqeen. Oh Allah, help us attach ourselves to the righteous people. Help us attach ourselves to the pious people. And Allah, help us become pious ourselves. Oh Allah, truly Allah, life has become so difficult for us, Ya Allah, because when we look inside of ourselves, Allah, all we see is darkness, all we see is emptiness, all we see is this void, Ya Allah, without you, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, we ask you, Allah, that you come into our hearts. Allah, make our hearts alive. Allah, begin with your zikr, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, make our lives, make our hearts alive again with your zikr, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, give us that ilm that will benefit us, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, give us that ilm that we can act upon, that we can do amal on. And Allah, please, Allah, give us ikhlas. Allah, give us ikhlas. Give us sincerity. Give us illahiyat in all of our actions, Ya Allah Kareem. Make us, Allah, people of taqwa. Make us people of tahara. Allah, make us people who are pure from the outside. And Allah, make us people who are pure from the inside, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, purify our thoughts. Purify our hearts. Allah, purify our nufus, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, we don't want to meet you in this kind of state, Ya Allah. Allah Kareem, we don't want to meet you in this kind of state, Allah. Oh Allah, please change us, Ya Allah. Soften our hardened hearts, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, Ya Allah, help us feel again. Help us, Allah, help us, Ya Allah, cry and weep in front of you again, Ya Allah Kareem. Our eyes have become so dry, Ya Allah. We don't cry when we listen to the Quran. We don't cry when we listen to the hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah, our elders talk about, Allah, they talk about these amazing people throughout the tradition of this deen, Allah, but our hearts remain unmoved. Allah, has dunya come into our hearts so much? Have our hearts become so rotten? Have they become so rusted, Allah? Allah, that we have become desensitized, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, help us make our hearts alive again, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, give barakah in our life. Give barakah in our time. Allah, give barakah in our rizq, Allah. Allah, give us halal and tayyib rizq, Ya Allah Kareem. Help us stay away from haram. Help us stay away from mustabihat, Ya Allah, from doubtful things. Allah, help us exercise self-control, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, help us become people who can control our nufus, Ya Allah. Allah, give us zuhad fi dunya, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, help us, Ya Allah, take the love of dunya away from our hearts. Allah, for too long have we been running after this dunya, Ya Allah. We have wasted away our life. Allah, whatever life is left, make it a kafara for the life that we have spent, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, give us a life of true iman, Ya Allah Kareem. And Allah, when our time comes, give us a death of iman and kalimat tayyiba, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, accept all of our du'as, Ya Allah, that are good for us, Ya Allah Kareem. And Allah, if there are any du'as that are bad for us, Allah, take them away from our hearts, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah, give love in this community. Give muhabbat in this community, Ya Allah. Help draw the hearts near to each other, Ya Allah Kareem. Oh Allah Kareem. Allah, help us follow the Quran and the Sunnah, Ya Allah. Allah, our Prophet ﷺ made so many sacrifices for us, Ya Allah. Allah, Ya Allah, but we have forgotten him, Ya Allah. We have forgotten his way. Allah Kareem, we have forgotten his way, we have forgotten his tears. Allah, we have forgotten when he was pelted, we have forgotten when he was cursed at. Allah, we have forgotten all those times when Allah, he was down, prostrating in front of you, and he was asking du'as for us, Ya Allah Kareem. He was asking du'as for us, but we became forgetful of that, Ya Allah. Help us remind ourselves of the sacrifice of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Allah, help us appreciate them. Help us appreciate his sacrifices by attaching ourselves to this deen, Ya Allah Kareem. By following his sunnah completely, Ya Allah. For how long will we run away from our own identity? Allah, that is why Muslims are in this identity crisis, because they are running away from the Sunnah, Ya Allah Kareem. They are afraid of what people will think. Is that what we have become, Allah? We think about the makhluk, but we don't think about you and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah, is this the despicable state that we are in? Oh Allah Kareem, help us only think about what you think of us, what Prophet Sallallahu thinks of us, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, give us such a purified life that when we meet you, Allah, that you give us a smile, Ya Allah, and that you make us amongst those. Oh Allah, help us become those people who are entered into Jannah بغير حساب. Ya Allah, in the feet of our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Oh Allah, accept each and every one of us. Allah, protect our youth, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, help them protect themselves from a life of sin, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, from a life of seduction, from a life of temptation. Allah, protect each and every one of them, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, each and every one of them is a gem, Ya Allah. We ask that you protect them. Allah, when they go to schools and colleges, Allah, we are away from them. But Allah, you are near them and only you can protect them, Allah. We ask that you protect our youth, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, we ask that you make them strong Muslims and Muslimas, Ya Allah Kareem. Allah, we ask that you make them leaders in this world. Allah, we ask you that you, Allah, help them take this message of this deen to four corners of this world, Allah. Oh Allah, please accept all of our du'as with your rahmah, with your fazl and your karam alone, Ya Allah Kareem. Khuda banda, maqsood man tu'i wa razayatu, mera muhabbatu ma'af wa za'ku shaqud bidde. Sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqihi, Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in, bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.